point, we're going to go into the purple country, Heartland Christian. Maggie Martin, the head coach of Heartland, joining us on Running Point. Maggie, coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
First off, Coach Martin, we talked to you last year. You were Coach Bauer Sox. So, eventful summer since then. Talk about that a little bit. And also, while you're at it, too, talk about the team we're going to be seeing at a Heartland Christian. And life, I guess, without Emma Hall now is the big thing.
Yeah. Well, yes, I am Coach Martin. I actually have been married for a couple of years. So so Martin, I'm Coach Martin, but yes, Emma Hall, we lost her last year. I know was definitely a building year for us. I knew that because 2 years ago we lost Michaela Osborne and Lydia Wilson, who were a couple huge hitters for us. So last year I knew it was a building year, and it definitely was. Emma is a huge loss. She's definitely a hard hitter. But this year, I'm hoping I have a lot of upperclassmen with now a full year of varsity under their belt. I have some freshmen coming up that I'm really expecting some big things from. So this year, I'm hoping is really going to be a fruition of the building year we had last year. I'm really hoping to compete this year.
And you do bring back a lot of really good players. You know, we were looking at your stats from last year yesterday, and obviously Emma Hall stuck out, but especially serving, this team was really good at hitting their serves, and the aces that you racked up were phenomenal. When you bring back that much experience from last year, that much young experience, how much do you think going through last year is going to help this team in growing this year?
I think it's going to help tremendously. I'm big on leadership. Sometimes I feel like I'm training, hopefully, future coaches rather than future players. So my juniors and seniors, I expect a lot of leadership from them. I expect them to really lead by example. And this year, I've already seen that. We had a couple scrimmages already, facing some big teams. We played Western Reserve, South Range, Matthews, and Struthers, and Grand Valley. And we played well. I'm definitely very proud of how they played. And so I'm proud of how my juniors and seniors, the leadership that I'm seeing, and I'm really proud of my freshmen and sophomores that are stepping up.
I think there's no doubt, Coach, the energy that you bring on the sidelines is something special too. You're always getting up for these girls. How invested do you get into these games, and what gives you that excitement and passion for this sport as much as we see?
I love volleyball. I call it a volleyball bug. I don't know. I actually played basketball. My dad was a basketball coach, so I played basketball since I could walk. But as soon as my hands touched a volleyball, that was it. Like, I loved it. Greatest sport in the world, I think. But it's tiring. Sometimes I lose my voice, sometimes more than the girls do. But I love it. And it's, I coach, sorry, I've got a cat crawling on me.
It's cool.
She's joining the interview. I coach like I played. I do miss playing, and I was always a vocal player. I kind of coach, like, my brain kind of works in the moment. So sometimes I work best in the moment. And then when I get to a huddle, sometimes I'm like, all right, these are all the things we got to talk about. Go. And then I kind of send them on their way. So my brain just kind of works in that quick action moment. So I just get into it. And I don't know, it kind of just helps the girls build that energy when we need it. Like the coach, sometimes you're the seventh player out there. When the girls are falling apart, then somebody has to be a leader. And, I think coaches should step up and play sometimes more of that role. Coaches create the culture. That's kind of what I believe. What you want to see your team do, I think the coach needs to kind of help create that.
You are definitely one of the most fun coaches to watch in the volleyball area because you're jumping around, you're invested in every point. How tired are you after these matches? Because you're putting just as much as a sweating as your players are sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely get pretty tired, and now I'm starting to feel my age too because it's getting harder to jump around. That I feel like I got to definitely warm up now. I sometimes at practices during season, I was demoing, some things with the girls. And now I'm like, ooh, I'm starting to finally feel my age a little. But I mean, I love it. And, even if I were out there in a wheelchair, I'm still going to be doing as much as I possibly can. It's a fun sport and I love it. So I just try to share that with everybody.
We know that Heartland's one of those programs that just doesn't have a football team in the fall. So in saying that, do you as a coach and do the players feel a sense of pride being one of those teams that represent Heartland Christian going around in fall sports?
Oh, definitely. I think definitely, like, we've also created a name for ourselves, even among other schools. Now sometimes I feel schools, they want to play us because they know we're competitive now at this point. Sometimes we used to be, oh, Heartland, we don't know if we want to get them on our schedule but I mean, volleyball, even just in the Heartland culture itself, we have us in basketball in Heartland are usually kind of our biggest turnouts for our parents, our fans. Those are kind of our biggest programs that we have that, like, it's just gung-ho there. I mean, we have awesome fans. We have awesome student sections. So it's definitely just a big culture. And yeah, and I'm definitely planning for Heartland's future. Our volleyball program's growing. So I'm really even hoping next year we could have the numbers for a freshman team. I want to do more with younger ages. So we're going to just continue to grow it and hopefully create a little volleyball legacy over there. We'll see.
Usually with coaches, when we talk about the schedule, we talk about your conference, but you're an independent, so you get to hop around and play a really tough schedule, especially for the size of school you are. I mean, some of these teams that pop up, you got Ursuline twice. You're going to play Western Reserve. You're going to play Columbiana. McDonald's a good program. I mean, how hard and then Crestview, of course, that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
When you look at this schedule and you look at all the teams that pop up, I mean, what are you most excited about the schedule, the way it turned out this year, and how much do you think it'll prepare you for the tournament?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I love playing big teams. I mean, some of the coaches I know, Alicia over at Crestview, I coached with her at Infinity. So we have a decent enough relationship that, some of these bigger schools, they're willing to play us and they know that, we're still going to be able to compete and give them a little run for their money. So it's good to have those coaches and those relationships that we can still get that experience. But I also just think that the program itself is growing and continue to grow. And we're starting to make a name for ourselves, among the small little Christian and private schools. I love that we can kind of hop around. Sometimes it is frustrating because since we're not in a league, oftentimes we're the first school that schools like to cancel with or reschedule with. So I know even that kind of happened a couple times this year. We lost a couple games, but then we gained a couple games. I actually think McDonald was a team we weren't originally going to play, but another game got canceled and that got added. So, that is something we're usually struggling with a lot. But it is good to have those coaches that we do have the relationships with that know, we're going to compete and we're going to come in and play.
I mean, like you said, it's a great schedule, and I think it's going to be fun to see you guys compete in it as well. Obviously, when we have other interviews with you throughout the season too, where this team's going to drastically change. We know the shifts teams have over the course of the season, but for preseason, right before it starts, what are some key points you think the team needs to work on that's going to determine how successful of a first half of the season they're going to have?
Yeah, I'm focusing on hitting this year. I have a lot of hitting weapons this year. And usually that's something we don't have at Heartland. I have a lot of height, which is also something we don't have. Heartland, we've always been strong with serving and passing. I kind of strategize as a coach. If we can serve tough and we can, serve to weak passers, we can serve to holes. That's a lot of our game plan. If we can get you out of system, we're going to try. We're going to try to place the ball. We like to try to find those corner spots, those end lines to get you out of system. So that's something we've always been good with is serving and passing because we've had to be. But this year, I finally have some offensive weapons, a few of them. And another thing that I have 20 on my roster again this year. And the past 3 years, it's been in the 20s, which is amazing. 4 years ago, my senior this year, her freshman year, I had 10 girls for JV and varsity. So we were begging girls to play. And then the last 3 years we've had 20. Next year we're hoping to have over 20, which that's why we're hoping to also have a freshman team. But I am hoping to hit this year. And so the girls aren't used to also a little competition in the team now. Now I'm saying to girls, if you're not willing to hit, I have another person who's willing to get in there and hit. So we're really focusing on hitting this year. So we've been hitting that hard in preseasons. The scrimmages that we've had, we've definitely been trying to just be more of a force on offense, working on blocking as well. Get our kill numbers up.
I had one question. I was just wondering, you've talked a lot about the tough schedule you're going to play in the very formidable teams, and just how your expectations have changed for this year compared to last year. Last year, you talked about the rebuild, and this year you expect to win. Obviously, more experience and more talent is going to help with, winning. But is there something as a coach you really want to put an emphasis on to your team, so they don't maybe look ahead, or if they're not taking it one day at a time? Is there something you want them to do to stay focused on the present, here and now?
Oh yeah, 100%. That's actually something we talk a lot about. I'm very much a mental coach. Any player who has ever had me, they will tell you that. I talk a lot. I say volleyball is 75% mental and 25% physical. One thing I even was trying to think of what I've learned in volleyball. Volleyball truly teaches you to be in the moment. Volleyball happens in a matter of seconds. You've got 2 seconds before that ball's coming at your face. You have a second to react. So volleyball is actually, it's not hitting a ball over the net. You have to have your movements need to be quick. They need to be efficient. You need to make sure your basics are there. Your muscle memory is there, so your body knows what to do. If you take one wrong step in one wrong direction, you're late for your block. You're going to have, stinking Abby Mitchell from Abby from Crestview coming over and crushing that ball in your face. If you're late for your block, it's, I'm sorry, not Abby Mitchell, but you're going to have you're going to be late for your blocks. And so it's those little things that matter. You have to play in the moment. I talk a lot about my girls. Whenever you hear them communicating between points, I tell them, you call out where that set is, you call out who your hitters are, because what that's going to do is it's going to get your mind focused on that next play. It's going to get your mind off that mistake you just made or whatever just happened, and it's going to get you focused on the next play, ready to move on. And that's what you constantly have to do in volleyball. And volleyball, you don't have 50-foot run from offense to defense like you do in basketball. You have a hit. That hitter hits that ball, you're on defense. Hitter hits that ball, you're on offense. So it's definitely a quick game. And people don't realize how mentally tough you have to be able to make those quick decisions, and how trained you have to be able to allow your body to move how quickly your brain needs to go too. So it's definitely, we talk a lot about that, the mental aspect of the game and the mental focus that you need.
Coach, take us through a typical Heartland Christian practice. What are some of your favorite drills to run your team through, and what does your practice schedule kind of look like?
Let me see. Well, we usually always start with kind of a Bible study, a devotional, and we talk a lot about kind of our team dynamics. Like I said, the coach creates the culture. So we don't allow bullying. We don't allow mean girls. We talk a lot about treating each other as a team. So usually we always start with like a little Bible study, kind of a devotional type thing. And then we've been doing kind of 30 minutes of strength training. We have a new kind of weight room and stretching. So it kind of helps to get the girls kind of mentally there, mentally focused. We work a lot on serve receive, so we like to do a lot of kind of butterfly type things, serving and passing. One of my favorite drills, we call it compulsories too, but that's something we do a lot to work on hitting. You've got you've got kind of your front row, and you've got a setter coming out of the back row, and it's off a coach's toss. You've got girls transitioning, setting, hitting, and then they're just getting ready to block, transition, hit. So we do a lot of basics. We do a lot of, usually our practices are kind of drill. And then usually the last maybe 30 minutes is usually kind of 6-on-6 play. We're really big on the little things, and we start that from 7th grade on up. I'm big on the basics, and the basics are the building blocks. Another kind of phrase we say a lot are, how you practice is how you're going to play. The skills that you build now, I tell you to do 50 passes back and forth. Those 50 passes is creating muscle memory. The little things turn into big things in the game. If you have bad habits here, they're going to turn into bad habits in a game, which can cost points. So we are just very much basics, the team dynamics, and kind of the mental game. We talk a lot about that.
What are the conversations you have with your players that are now going into be their upperclassmen seasons that now have to transition into that leadership role? What is the advice you would give to them in those situations?
A lot of the advice I give is leadership, I believe, is really serving. I believe the best leaders, anybody that I've ever really looked up to, they led by example. They were people that I wanted to be like. I wasn't a fan of the people who say, oh, do what I say, not what I do. That never really kind of flew with me. So I try to not be that as a coach for myself. I tell the girls, if I ask you to come 15 minutes for practice, early for practice, I'm going to be there. I'm not going to give you an expectation I'm not willing to follow. And I expect the same thing from my leaders. Sometimes the girls, they try to, we do kind of at the end of the day, the net cleanup, shag balls, kind of general cleanup of everything. And sometimes the juniors and seniors try to be like, oh, freshmen, you all sweep. And, I'm kind of like, show them how to sweep. It's, being a leader is oftentimes just being a servant. Like, you need to lead by example. That's kind of the number one thing I try to teach them. And I also try to show them, if I'm going to tell them to lead by example, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to practice what I preach to. And, hopefully it sticks.
Coach, before we let you go, I want to give you a chance to talk about your coaching staff and the people that you have behind you making this Heartland program as good as it is.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
I want to give you a chance to talk about your coaching staff and the people that you have working with you to make this Heartland program what it is.
Yes, actually. I had to get all new coaches this year. I started the only one. So for junior high, I actually have a couple of my alumni that I previously coached coming back, which is super exciting. But for my JV coach, actually, I kind of found her right before the season started. Her name's Belle Cope. She's currently a student at Mount Union, but I love her so far. She is actually studying neuroscience and like psychology. And that's actually what I studied when I was in college as well, was psychology. So her and I kind of, we see eye to eye on a lot of kind of our coaching ideas. She's kind of really just jumped in with the team so far. And she kind of definitely agrees with a lot of the things that we're already running at Heartland, focusing on team, focusing on really just how we treat each other more than anything. And then just focusing on those fundamentals. So she's in there, and she went to Western Reserve Academy and played volleyball there, and had plans to play at Mount Union, but kind of just chose to actually coach instead. She said she rather wanted to focus on coaching. So I'm so glad I found her. And I'm super excited to see her. She's a little defense. So I'm 6 foot tall. I was a hitter and she's defense. So it's kind of nice to have that dynamic there, and she can definitely help a lot with the defense and everything. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for the coaching staff that we've kind of built now. And, even for the future. I think I have some coaches for even our future teams that we want to build. So I'm really excited. I'm ready to get going.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to come on today and give us a preview of Heartland Christian Volleyball. We thank you for your time. We look forward to covering you all season, and hopefully we can have you back on again throughout the year and talk about some Heartland success.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for having me. I'll come back anytime.